I've got the spores, the sickness. There's the twins in my brain.
That's a wrap on the first World Tour race of the season. Who came out flying with great legs, who hit the deck, and who fell short of expectations? Welcome to the Tour Down Under review episode of the Domestique Cycling Podcast. I'm joined today by Yves and Ethan. Ethan's been working hard all week covering the action on Domestique Live over on X. And Ethan, let's be honest, on a scale of 1 to 10, how exhausted are you right now?
Poor. I'd say probably 9 out of 10. I think, especially yesterday, after going to some football as well, I think that tired me out. It's completely done me.
Yves, did you enjoy the racing?
I enjoyed it in the morning with my morning coffee to watch the highlights, and Ethan always sent me messages, rewatch there, start watching there. So it was pretty easy for me to follow, and it was pretty exciting if you just watch highlights.
All right, let's get started with stage one. That stage ended in a bunch sprint. But first of all, there was an interesting name in the breakaway, Bastien Tronchon. He scored some interesting bonification seconds, and he ended up 15 GC after the final stage. Do you think that's a coincidence, or is it quite a surprise to you?
I'd say that's not a coincidence. It looked like, from what I was seeing, it like it was planned. And like I say, it's a tactical thing you learn from pro cycling managers. So yeah, that's what all the good players do. And it's perfect, really. What you should do. I don't understand why more teams do not do it. It's just 3 bonus seconds.
We already said that bonification seconds were going to be very important in this week of racing, especially at Tour Down Under. Yves, what do you think about Tronchon and his seconds?
Well, first of all, it was for the bonification seconds, so it was very, very smart to do. But I think it is the other reason is the first stage. It wasn't a hard stage, so he wanted to heat up his engine a little bit. It's the first stage of the season, just get that heart rate up a little bit. It wasn't a very big effort into that break, so it was a perfect way to start his 6-day week. So yeah, only good things to do what Tronchon did.
Behind Tronchon, there was a fight for the final bonification seconds between Narvaez, Nerurker, and Mauro Schmidt, with Narvaez winning that battle. Yves, you had some expectations about Nerurker before the start of the week, but in the end, we didn't get to see him much, right?
No, I saw him as a outsider to battle for the overall win, but he crashed in the second stage as well, and I don't know if it, decreased his trust and his confidence for the next stage if he had a little bit of pain. But yeah, he just wasn't there, and I expected him to be a bit higher up.
Well, the fact that he was in the battle for that seconds,
Yeah.
that means he was thinking about GC. So
Yeah.
my guess is that the crash hampered him a little bit. There was a big crash in stage one as well. Ethan, you know all about it since you've seen every second of the race. Dylan van Baarle once again, Team Visma bike hitting the deck. The guys have some bad luck.
Yeah, very bad luck for Visma bike. It's like that crash. I mentioned it in our Discord to Josh, who also was doing some work there as well. That it was just going to be a crash. It was so windy, technical, like a really, really fast. The guys were in the peloton were going left, right, all in the bends, and then boom, it was cool. Maybe the top third of the peloton just right in there, and so many people went down. A lot of GC contenders as well went down in that thing. Plap also went down in that, if I recall correctly, and a few other contenders as well. But obviously, the 3 kilometer rule was implemented there.
I've got a list here of Dylan van Baarle's injuries the past 2 years: a fractured hand, fractured scapula, fractured hip, and twice fractured collarbone. That's insane. Since the guy has joined Team Visma bike, all is going wrong. I have the feeling. Yves, about his spring campaign, What is the consequence of this injury?
Yeah, first of all, it's a pity for him because there were some talks about Van Baarle not being in the Tour de France team. But Dylan asked it himself because he wanted to gain a little bit of weight to be able to compete in the Northern Classics. Right now, in the end of January, to have such an injury again, yeah, it will decrease, it will hamper his fitness. But it is an injury that you can get on the bike pretty fast, I think. Although I don't know, it will depend how complicated that fracture really is. But it will hamper him for sure for races like Omloop, Kuurne. Those races are, yeah, within the next month. So, but within the 4 weeks, it's that first race. So, yeah, it will hamper him for sure at the start of the classic campaign.
And mentally, how hard do you think it is to have a fracture on the first day of racing of the new season?
I think
That's
mentally it
insane,
has
isn't
to
it?
be insane. Yeah, and surely with the bad luck he's had the last couple of seasons, you think, all right, 2025 is my season. A white sheet, let's go again. But yeah, first race, yeah, so hard mentally.
But he keeps coming back though. That's the thing. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's a testament to him.
yeah,
I already mentioned it that Sam Welsford won the first bunch sprint of this Tour Down Under. There were a lot of talks within our Domestique team about Sam Welsford, especially coming from Dieter Loos. I can't say he didn't believe in Welsford, but he had some doubts whether he could win multiple stages. In the end, he won 3 of them. Once again, he did the same last year. How do we look back on Sam Welsford this week?
I mean, it's you don't want to be a hater though, but like he prepares for it. That's his like main goal, really. I'd say for him, he's just winning those races there, and also he won 3 stages purely because the way the race was ridden, it was so relaxed. If the peloton really wanted to ramp it up and things like that, I don't know if he'd win. Maybe the second one. The third one yesterday was just ridiculously easy.
Yves, what are your conclusions about Sam Welsford and maybe Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe in general?
the the sprinter with the best team backing him won 3 stages. The work Danny Van Poppel did as last lead-out man in the 3 stage wins. We're gonna talk about stage 2 later, and its relegation. But Danny Van Poppel was in an insane shape as well. When Welsford dropped in stage 2, Van Poppel was already in the back there to bring Welsford back, and to do that lead out at the end was insane. So Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe was the only team who brought a full lead out train, and it benefited them massively because the other teams just couldn't hang on or match that train.
If I'm honest, I even have the feeling Danny Van Poppel was better than Sam Welsford. He was
Yeah.
the MVP of the race, of the sprint stages.
Yeah, because the sprint stage as well. And fun fact, in the stage 5 to Willunga Hill, Danny Van Poppel was at the front after first ascent of Willunga Hill. So he survived that first ascent, I think. And then Van Poppel was there popping up at the front. I said, what? Okay, he's in a pretty decent shape this early on in season.
In some spring classics, Danny Van Poppel can be an outsider for a nice top 10, top 15. Do you think he's an interesting name for some fantasy teams?
Whew. Mate, what are you asking me?
A cheap asset, you may as well. He's got a few before. I think I'd say yeah. Would you say yeah, Yves? But it's
I don't know.
like their classics team is ridiculous as well. So yeah.
That's why I yeah, maybe Schelde plays, but that's probably a main sprinter that will line up there. No, I'm gonna pause on that question and not answering it.
You have the
All
balls
right.
to answer the question.
we're moving on to Matthew Brennan, who took second place, the guy of Team Visma Lease Bike. He was maybe even the fastest in that sprint because he came from way too far. But there's a nice statistic about Brennan. He was the youngest rider on the World Tour podium since 1931, being 19 years old and 168 days. How impressive is that?
Immensely impressive, and it also is showing that cycling, the people are getting younger and younger, and obviously we've seen it with Albert with and Philipson as well. It's just ridiculous, isn't it? Really, I think the amount of talent that these guys coming through have.
Is it a matter of time before he wins this season?
A matter of time, yeah. Especially after you seen it on stage one. Welsford was nearly napping really when he was going from so far as well.
On to stage two. Once again, a party for Sam Welsford and Red Bull BORA hansgrohe. But before that sprint started, there were a couple of facts that we need to mention. If you already said it, there was a crash in the peloton with Nerurker involved, but also Sam Welsford. I think he hit the deck during the Australian Championships road race as well on his left side. Right now, his right side was touched, but after the finish, the guy could laugh about it. In the breakaway, there were the names of Patrick Conrad of Little Trek and Georg Zimmermann of Intermarché 1T. Both of them took 5 bonification seconds, and Conrad ended top 10 in GC. I think he was 10th. Little Trek and this Tour Down Under, there were some questionable tactics about them. How do you look back on that?
I think that's with the stuff with Juan Pedro Lopez as well. I've not had a very good Tour Down Under, have they? I'll be honest. And then on stage 3 with the 5 guys all there in the chasing group, and you're not cooperating. But the Conrad one, that is at least a respectable tactical decision, I think, because of the bonus seconds. I'll give them that.
In stage 2, there was Mangler's Hill on the course. Sam Welsford and Arne Marit were dropped. We know that because of Arne Marit, who sent us a video recapping that stage. But both got back into the peloton thanks to the work of Red Bull BORA hansgrohe. If you rewatch that stage and you said there is no image of Arne Marit in the group of Sam Welsford, have you discovered the details already?
No, I didn't. So I really started watching the moment Welsford dropped. He always had 2, 3, 4 men around him from Red Bull BORA hansgrohe, but I never saw a rider from Intermarché. So I don't know if he had an invisibility code like Harry Potter, but I didn't see him. He wasn't there, according to Arne himself, and he probably knows best. He joined the peloton. He rejoined the peloton with the help of Red Bull BORA hansgrohe. But yeah, I want to mention one thing for that second stage. I remember in the preview, I said it wasn't a sprint stage because of that 2 ascents of Mangler's Hill. It was a sprint stage, but like Ethan already mentioned a couple of minutes ago, that's because of the peloton who was riding so passively, I think. If there is a team like Israel who decides to ramp up the pace after that second ascent of Mangler's Hill, Welsford is never coming back. Because I rewatched the whole thing, and yeah, the pace completely slowed down after the top of Mangler's Hill. So that made it easier for Marit and Welsford to come back. And at that moment, I don't really at the moment understand it, why teams waited on the fastest sprinter in the bunch.
Yeah, true. There's nothing more to add to that conclusion, in my opinion. I think it's very interesting going into the next races to mention the riders who attacked on Mangler's Hill as well. By doing that, we know who felt good. Those riders who attacked were Juan Pedro Lopez, Alberto Bettiol, Marc Soler, and Jhonatan Narvaez. Of course, Narvaez, he attacked all week. But going into that sprint right now, so Sam Welsford was brought back by Red Bull BORA hansgrohe, but I think we can all agree he wouldn't have won without that action of Danny van Poppel, who had relegated and received a yellow card after obstructing Tobias Lund Andresen. Do you agree with that, or do you think Welsford would have won?
No, I don't think he would have won. No chance.
What about the yellow card system? He's
I
the
mean,
first one, I think.
it's worked. I think it's worked, but like I read Dieter's tweets as well. What he said about the punishing the sprinter. In that circumstance, I think he punished the sprinter because it affected the outcome. There's no way you can decide it not to. Really, I think. I don't know what you guys think.
I've written that down as well. Like, Van Poppel get relegated, but like within Red Bull BORA hansgrohe, who cares? Welsford has that stage win because of that move. But can you sanction Welsford for it? I don't know. He didn't ask Van Poppel to do it, so it would be pretty harsh to say Welsford, yeah, sorry, but your teammate decided to be a little bit of a dick and took out your competition. So yeah, I don't know. It's a difficult one, but the yellow card system it will work. I just hope the UCI use it in a consistent manner. If it's a star like Pogacar or Van der Poel who does something dirty, they should get a yellow card as well. It's like everybody should be treated the same way.
What I
I
didn't
think it's
understand, yeah, as well. 1 second there, Anas, yeah. Piffy, he didn't get a yellow card, but he got relegated.
Yeah.
So you can just pick and choose where you give a yellow card.
And Juan P. Lopez didn't get a yellow either. I think he was just taken out of the race after that sticky bottle, but no yellow card either.
The thing is, yeah, that with Juan P. Lopez, they wasn't even going to disqualify him.
Yeah.
And it was the most obvious thing they've ever seen.
Yeah, about punishing the sprinter because of an action from his lead-out guy. How far can you go with that? Imagine Danny van Poppel gives a head bump to another rider, like with 1.5 kilometers to go in a fight for position. Yeah, that doesn't really have an influence on the final result, but yeah, it might have, because if you really hamper an opponent and you make him lose like 10 positions, that fucks up his sprint as well, right?
Yeah, completely agree. But it's difficult. It's a thin line. How can you sanction? Not knowing the result, first of all. 1K to go, you don't know what's going to happen. I don't have the solution for it at the moment, how you can handle such things.
I would love to hear all the ideas that the UCI have tried to come up with for that, because it must give you a headache trying to think of one thing there.
I'm pretty
It's
curious.
impossible.
I'm pretty curious, in fact, to hear the comments from the audience on YouTube about this discussion. So if you have an opinion about how to solve this first world problem, drop it in the comments, and then we can talk about it
Well,
in one of our next episodes.
there was one thing I heard on the Eurosport broadcast. Someone suggested to the commentators to paint 8 white lines, and then once you go inside the white lines, you don't deviate from the white lines.
It's like track running.
Yeah, it's like a 100-meter sprint, like Usain Bolt or something like that. You can't. I don't know how that would work, but would it work?
Yeah,
I
but
don't know. It
either.
would never work.
in a sprint like that, you can't overtake anyone.
You just sat there all in lines. It's like,
If you choose a line and someone is in front of you in that line, then you're basically fucked.
It's just gonna be like a Zwift segment, like the fastest time onto that segment wins, and not the fastest to the line.
Time trials all the way. All right, on to stage 3. There was Notts Hill climb inside the final 10 kilometers, a climb of 2.7 kilometers at average of 7.7%. Ethan, as a Notts County fan, that must be your favorite climb, of course.
every time I kept hearing the flipping climb, it just Notts Hill. It's like, I'm back home.
We need to mention one name, first of all. Fergus Browning of Team Australia. He was in the breakaway for 3 days in a row, I think. securing his KOM leaders jersey. The guy is 21 years old and he rode 3 years for Trinity Racing. He got also second in both the under 23 Australian road race and individual time trial championship. Um, is it a matter of time before some team picks him up, you think, because of this action?
I don't want to be harsh yet, but like, ooh, it wasn't really that easy to get into the breakaway. You could just roll into the breakaway, and with all the King of the Mountain points, he was just rolling through. So if he was a team director, would you be looking at that particularly?
But he's only 21 years old, so he showed potential. Will it be a future star within our sport? I don't know, but what he showed he's capable of riding hard, uphill, in the flat on the flat. So I think he can be a extra quality rider within a team to help out the leader.
Yeah, well, so someone from Team Australia, yeah, he put himself into the spotlight. That was what he need to do in that team. And being 21 years old, I think, yeah, that's the perfect way to ride your Tour Down Under. So maybe Fergus Browning is a name we will hear more about. Next into the stage, there was once again a crash. Stevie Williams, he hit the deck in the feed zone and lost a lot of time in the end of the stage. That was also the end of the GC ambitions for the title defender of Tour Down Under. After all, looking back at the performances of Israel Premier Tech, can we say they disappointed a little bit?
Yes, I think.
Yeah.
And why?
They're defending champions, so you'd expect them to at least defend their jersey valiantly. But I would like to also say about the feed zone there, that crash was just a silly crash. And also, the UCI is mandated it where I think the feed zone, you're only allowed to take stuff now in that feed zone rather than outside of it. So the panic there for the feed zone is stupid. And it was in a very, very stupid place, the feed zone.
I remember Dieter and I, we've been hyped about Corbin Strong in this race for 2 years now. Strong was in fact in both the Sprint Stars and GC Stars of Dieter Loos, but we didn't really get to see him. Do you guys have more details about how he felt, or did he just make a training race out of it?
It seemed training race, really, there, I'll be honest there. It was there or thereabouts in the sprints, and then the punchy stages. You'd expect more from Corbin Strong on the punchy stage, not gonna lie. He was a bit anonymous.
Bonification seconds were important once again here. Finn Fisher-Black took a second with 35 kilometers to go. The guy made a move from UAE Team Emirates to Red Bull BORA hansgrohe. Is he one of the riders to watch there this season?
Certainly.
I think so.
On to Notts Hill, there was a lot of action. Jay Vine, Oscar Only, Miguel Kwiatkowski, Yves, you mentioned him in the preview, attacked as well, together with Remy Rochat. But in the end, it was Javier Romo who found the right moment to attack and got some freedom. We didn't mention him in the preview, so that's quite a surprise to us.
Blew everyone by surprise, I think, and many people on predictions online and things like that. Many people put him as like a one-star guy kind of thing, I think.
Yves,
Yeah.
what's your opinion?
We all knew he's a young, talented rider. He comes from triathlon, where he's built. But yeah, it was a surprise to see him that strong all week. He was active all week, not only stage 3 where he won, but he showed himself multiple times in the stages after. So certainly a breakthrough race for the Spaniard, and I think Movistar can be happy with how they started 2025. And
I
they
think
matched
also-
already their World Tour wins from 2024. And we're the 26th of January right now. So last year, Pelayo Sanchez took a Grand Tour stage win, and that was it. And now, yeah, third day into the new season, and they already have
He
that win.
rates very smart as well, I think as well. he was covering every move. He's so strong. It's like you don't really see that movie star, do you? From racing smartly. So
No.
Going into the rest of the season, in which races would you expect something from Javier Romo?
That's a difficult question. I don't know. He was strong in that rolling terrain after second time Notts Hill. He was able to keep the pace high there. It wasn't a real attack, so I don't really know if he's very explosive because he just rolled out the front. I know what he reacted in stage 3. He attacked on Willunga Hill. Pretty impressive there. But I don't know yet where to put him as a hilly rider, mountainous rider. I don't know yet. I think more hilly, rolling terrains that he can just keep the power down because of his early years in triathlon. He probably knows how to pace himself perfectly. So yeah, time trialing and rolling terrain should suit him.
Say breakaway stages in Grand Tours and 1 week races on, as you say, if hilly terrain. So I do agree with that. A couple of seconds behind Javier Romo, who took the win and the leader's jersey. There was a reduced bunch sprint won by Jhonatan Narvaez in front of Finn Fisher-Black and Albert Whitten Philipsen, Ethan. You were pretty hyped about Philipsen before the race. Did he meet your expectations?
definitely, yeah. As well for a young kid, expectations going to have a big role to play on you, and it's how you cope with the expectations. And I hope for him that he can just race freely. He doesn't need any expectations at that age, does he? As well. But yeah, and going back to that, his performance there was flipping proof. If Little rode for him, he could have got a very, very, very good result there. Potential podium as well on the stage. If the rode for him, he could even have won. But it's very hard to beat Narvaez there.
Did anyone see the Domestique data tweet by Dieter about Philipsen?
Yes, it's flipping. What a bloody unit, man! That's crazy, isn't it? At that age, like, it's like mind blown.
Maybe we need to mention those numbers for the listeners. On the first time Notts Hill, he rode at 6.3 watts per kilo for 7 minutes. Second time Notts Hill, 6.9 watts per kilo for 6 minutes 30 seconds. And then in the sprint, he peaked to 1,450 watts. Eve, you know something about watts as well. How impressive is this?
This is it's very impressive. Just like Ethan already says, to do this at such age so early on in the season, I don't think he peaked for this either. I think he's just a raw talent, a raw diamond, and like Little Track has gold in their hands. It's insane.
I'd say more than gold, really. I think it's a diamond there, and
Yeah.
they manage him well. If they manage him well, then the diamond will be perfect for them.
I've written down some extra things on stage 3, mostly about Ineos. Already Ineos tries to make the race hard when the break forms early in the stage with Connor Swift trying to be a launch pad or trying to get in the break with a bigger group. That wasn't possible, so he decided to drop back, and then Browning and Bouchard went up the road for the day. But the second time of Notts Hill, Ineos was very dominant, a dominant team display in the build-up towards the climb. They were at the front with 6 riders before the climb, but they were nowhere. Nowhere. It's a bit harsh, but they weren't really in the mix at the end in stage 3. And I looked it up, and I have a question for you guys. How long ago did Ineos win their last professional win? When was their last professional win in cycling?
That's a
This is a
difficult one.
this is a podcast, guys. So you have to say something.
I'm
2020.
guessing it. I'm guessing it was an
2024.
individual time trial.
Yeah,
Is that
I think
right?
it-
No,
Huh?
it was the Tour of Austria, stage 4. People Ghana won it, but it wasn't the team time. It wasn't the time trial. So that's the 6th of July. A team like Ineos, and they were the worst team starting at TD. So there was a list of all teams starting in Tour Down Under, and they were the team who had the longest wait for a stage win. So that's a remarkable statistic, I think.
But the
Also
problem is
about
solved
them
now.
though. You go again, Hannes.
The problem is solved now. Caleb Ewan is there.
Yeah, that's if they're kind of viewing with some of those sprint trains, what they were doing, he probably would have won 2 stages. I'll be honest. They was doing some great work in the sprint lead outs. Obviously the working on stage 3. You notice Ineos more and more in these 6 stages than before. If they had a guy who could finish it off, they'd be flipping flying.
I
One
want
last
to
thing.
ask. Go ahead, Yves.
I've watched the first video of UAE. They made a YouTube video about the first 3 stages. And there was a pre-race strategy meeting before that stage, talking about how they would play out Vine and Narvaez. So Vine got the freedom on Knott's Hill to try something to get away solo or something. And if he wasn't able to get away, it was all in for Narvaez. And Vine had to do a lead out according to the team management. So into that strategy meeting there. I don't know if you guys recall the post-race interview from Jay Vine after that stage, but the guy said he had a puncture, so he wasn't able to bring back Javier Romo so that Narvaez could sprint for the win. What do you guys think of that? Because I watched the footage and there was quite a lot of pressure into that tire, in both tires to be exact. So do you think Vine wanted to save energy and go for own glory on Wollonga Hill?
Yes,
Yeah.
I think.
I don't know. If
I
you have a
think straight
puncture
away.
and you say that in a post-race interview, your team can hear that as well and have a look at the tires, if it's right or not.
Yeah, it was weird because he never checked his tires on camera, so it looked pretty cool. But yeah,
Suspicious. But yeah, you can't really complain there. You just Little had 5 guys all there. You just at least one of them worked, but for some reason you just all twiddled their thumbs and just sat there and watched Romo fly away, basically.
We need to mention the names of those riders, Ethan. There were Witten Philipsen, Conrad, Bajoli, Lopez, and Mollema. What do you think was the problem with those guys? Is it the fact that more experienced riders don't want to ride for the young talent, or what did go wrong?
Maybe it was not clear who a leader was.
So that's a management issue then.
I think clearly because they made an almighty mess up there of it. So I'd like to actually know what was actually wrong with it, but I've never actually seen anyone say what it was.
Anyway, I think I'm right when saying that Albert Witten Philipsen won the overall youth classification of this Tour Down Under, which is at 18 years old, of course, very impressive. On to stage 4, which was won by Brian Kokar, once again a reduced bunch sprint. The stage had Nettle Hill with 25 kilometers to go. But first about the breakaway, Taco van der Hoorn, and he was back in there. How lovely is that after all the problems he suffered the past years?
It's insane to see as well. What made it even sweeter is that it was literally as soon as the flag dropped, and then boom, it was gone. What you love to see.
Mauro Schmidt was in there as well. How do we look back at his Tour Down Under?
average. He was in the spotlight. He was active. It was 100% domestique for Pleb and the general classification. But yeah.
Is
Just-
average, isn't that a little harsh?
I think that's a bit harsh.
Yeah, I do think so. He attacked multiple times. The stage to Willunga Hill, he played all or nothing together with Chris Harper, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
So I think he can be happy with this performance, no?
Yeah, he can be happy with his performance. But yeah,
That's all.
we can expect more from Schmidt, I think. I was way more impressed by Harper than within that team, because Harper attacked in stage 3 and stage 4 once, in 5 as well. He was very
Yeah, and
active,
crashed.
Harper, and crashed as well. So yeah, a good
say he's
race
probably
to
the
build on
strongest
for
out of
Schmidt.
all of the Jaco Alula guys. I think Harper was by far.
Yeah, one of those commentators for Two Down Under, I don't know who was on air, said at one point, free Chris, #free Chris Harper. I don't know who said it, but yeah, I don't know what Plop did wrong at that moment, to be honest, but he wasn't happy that Harper had to domestique.
There's a new season, but some things never change. Jay Vine crashed, but didn't lose any time. Once again, skill issue, probably. In that stage, Sam Welsford got dropped, which opened up the opportunity for other sprinters to go for the win. It was Brian Kokar who took the stage in front of Phil Bauhaus and Jhonatan Narvaez, but there were a lot of problems with that sprint. First of all, Narvaez, he complained a lot about the actions of Brian Kokar, but I think that was a bit silly. Narvaez just found himself at the wrong side of Kokar. Is that right?
Yeah, there was
Yeah.
no opportunity for him to gain further, and also the barriers. Whoever placed them must have been drunk, because how hard is it to put barriers that straight is so silly. And
There
you
was
see
the
very
action.
squibbly.
There was the action of Lawrence Pitty as well. He got relegated, but as we mentioned, he didn't get a yellow card. He closed Henry Ulik at the barriers, which ruined a potential top 5, I think, for Ulik.
Yeah.
Piffy as well. He's a bit. I think he has a bit of a reputation within the peloton, Piffy. And do you guys agree as well with that? I've always found him to be a bit balls to the wall. You know what I mean?
Based
In
on
sprints.
what, Ethan?
I remember in the Giro as well. He was a bit like that as well. In the sprints, you just people was complaining about him as well before, wasn't they? If I recall correctly, during a live, and there was a quote of complaining about Piffy.
Yeah, I don't really remember it, but
I,
in my opinion, I didn't have the feeling. I don't know what about you, Eve?
I don't know. I don't have any specific situation in mind in previous seasons, but it's possible. He surely wants to show himself within his new team colors. Yeah, it's a pity to show it like that.
There's one more thing I would like to mention about stage 4. There was a really strong lead out by Ineos Grenadiers, but once again, no results. Samuel Watson, he ended up in 5th place after the relegation of Pitty. Caleb Ewan joins the team right now, but Caleb Ewan is someone who really needs a strong lead out train. Do you believe he will find that train at Ineos Grenadiers?
110%. I think. Have you watch all this? If he was there, he probably would have came second or at least first.
That's true. It's true.
It literally was put on a plate for him. It's just Watson was getting like wishy-washied around a bit, banged around, and just couldn't stick the wheel. But if Ewan was there, he's literally on a plate for him.
Probably, yes. But still, I don't have the feeling he will find the right lead-out train there.
Did you watch the race, the lead outs? And they're literally there.
Now, not at Tour Down Under, but if you want to
Yeah,
compete
but
at Tour de France, for instance, if you want to match the trains of Philipsen, of Merlier, of Jonathan Milan, I don't think that's
Ineos,
possible.
the Ineos one is still very good, I think, compared. It generally actually is generally very good.
Yeah, they
It's
can
just that
prove me wrong.
they've just not had a good sprinter, I think, to finish it off.
And do they
That's
have
true.
now?
I'd give him one more chance.
When can we say he had a successful season? We don't want to win in 1.1 races, do we?
He won a Grand Tour stage, I think.
Yeah.
Cavendish was able to win a stage with that Astana train, so although
Yeah,
that
but
was a
that's
very good
Cavendish.
train. I know, yeah, that's Cavendish, but all he has to do is just be delivered in the right place, and I think Ineos have the capabilities to do that.
We'll see. Anyway, on to the Queen stage, stage 5. The stage finished on top of Willunga Hill, but we had a remarkable breakaway action by Juan Pedro Lopez and Pablo Torres, who joined 4 riders who were already in there. Can someone explain to me what happened?
I don't know what they're
No.
doing. They just go fall asleep.
Anyway, I think the problem was that Pablo Torres was too high in GC. He was like 35 seconds behind the race leader, if I recall correctly, which caused the peloton chasing the breakaway. Of course, the other breakaway companions weren't happy about that. Juan Pedro Lopez and Pablo Torres attacked, but the others came back, and it was a flyby. All of a sudden, Juan Pedro Lopez and Torres were dropped.
It's like on Swift when you get dropped, and all of, it's like when I race Yeez, I'm ahead, and like you all of a sudden comes flying by, man. You just looking like what? But Pablo Torres as well. He also did actually ride a good race for this. Parkour was not really his style. He's more very long mountainous terrain, I think. But he got third in the youth category as well. So yeah, promising for him as well.
Something interesting, Team Picnic Postenel was doing the chase in the peloton for Oscar only. That was quite surprising to me.
Why?
Okay, UAE Team Emirates at first had Pablo Torres on the road, but then he got caught again. Being UAE Team Emirates, you could at least join that chase, in my opinion.
True. Yeah, true. But maybe
Everyone else was twiddling around though. That's the thing. Everyone was just watching, and the gap kept growing and growing and growing. And then someone had to finally, put their foot down, I think, and they decided to do it.
We already mentioned the attacks of Chris Harper together with Mauro Schmidt, but those guys were caught with 5 kilometers to go. The next one to attack was the GC leader himself, Javier Romo. Was that tactically the right decision?
Yeah, I think so.
And why?
Because attack is sometimes the best defense. And at that moment, there was a little bit of hesitation in that GC group. So he decided to go. And he stayed in front of the others till a bit less than 500 meters to go, if I recall correctly. So he did an insanely strong climb. I saw a lot of people on social media mention, yeah, he just had to stick to the likes of Narvaez and others, and he would have won the overall. But I disagree, because the way he raced, he could pace himself perfectly. He looked at his power numbers all the time, and that made sure he was able to survive that long. So I think he did everything he could to save his overall win. It didn't work out, sadly, for him, but it was the best decision he could take, in my opinion.
I
He
do agree with
probably would
that.
have won. I think he would have won the stage he wants for Plap. I don't know what Plap's doing, and is literally giving Plap has done all that work here to give Narvaez the win.
Yeah, in my opinion, Javier Romo needed to make that climb as hard as possible for the others. That's what he did, because he basically knew he was going to get out sprinted by Narvaez in that sprint and lose bonification seconds, so that would ruin his GC as well.
I don't know what Plapp did though.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
But Plap in general, these 6 stages, he remains an enigma. He is so much at the back of the peloton. At important moments, he has to waste so much energy to get back to the front, like stage 3, for example, as well. On the first ascent of Notts Hill, he has to come right from the back to the peloton to the front. That's already an effort of 2-3 minutes. And like in a lot of stages, he paced the opposition. Like he drives up the pace without establishing a gap. And he's just domestiquing for faster men in his wheel.
It's weird as well. With the positioning, they had I don't know if you've seen it was like crosswind kind of thing. Like some West Flanders stuff there. But Plapp was, if he's at the back, he's caught out. And he says he wants to target the Giro.
Yeah.
And
that search from Ineos right before the last ascent of Willunga Hill, that was impressive. Like the peloton was completely in pieces. Narvaez was in a second group. Plapp was not in the first group. But pity they couldn't keep it up the pace, because you saw right before Willunga Hill, Geraint Thomas was done. Michal Kwiatkowski was completely done. But indeed, Plop, the energy he lost already there to get back to the front and be able to do what he did on Willunga Hill. After that, he was so strong, but he wasn't riding smart enough this week.
Looking back at it now, if Javier Romo had podiumed that stage and took bonification seconds, I think he would have won GC. As we said, this race was going to be decided by those bonification seconds, and that has been the fact. Narvaez took 21 bonification seconds, Romo 10, Finn Fisher Black 9, and Oscar only 6, which means Narvaez won it on bonification seconds.
Yeah, I saw a statistic saying a general classification without bonification seconds, and Roma would have won it with 2 seconds in front of Narvaez. So
lost a few seconds celebrating, but on stage 3.
But you can't. It's his first.
It was a legendary celebration, though.
It's his first thing. You never see. Yeah, obviously, but like, if you want to win the stage, you're never gonna get the moment back. Your first ever professional win, so you expect it as well. But also, go back to Willunga Hill stage. Finn Fisher Black flipping out. He was like a rocket. He absolutely flies home from that group, like insane. If he probably was together, he could have.
I had to rewatch it because he wasn't in that front 3 group, and then suddenly at the finish line he was in there. So I rewatched and tried to follow where he came from, and his last 300 meters were insanely fast. That was so impressive. I don't know why he wasn't able to hold on earlier on the climb, that he was dropped.
Positioning, I think he maybe was caught on that thing. And also another rider who was also good on that climb as well. Came back due to positioning again was Thomas Gloag as well. After all he's been through as well, very, very strong Tour Down Under from him as well.
We haven't really talked about Oscar only so far. How do we look back on his performances this week?
Yeah, very good. I'd say he tried his best, as we can do really. That attack he did, everyone was just too aware of his attack on stage 3.
He even attacked in the final stage as well.
Yeah, he's trying for bonus seconds. You gotta respect it.
He got brought back, of course, immediately and ended up 4th in GC, 15 seconds behind Narvaez. 4th place, just like last year, but that means Tour Down Under is a race that suits him. That final stage was pretty boring. Can I say that, Eden?
Yes, I think I'll be honest, many of the stages were a bit like that, but stage 5 was good. The ending of stage 3, but yeah, most like 95% of the race was just training rides for the guys, I think. And then that circuit was, I don't know, could have been a bit more interesting, let's say that. But like the end bit was all right. You got fast and there was a few crashes, and it was actually quite a technical circuit, I think.
Yeah, there's not much to mention about that final stage, except from Casper Pedersen, the Soudal Quickstep rider. He was the last man standing from the breakaway, caught with only 3 kilometers to go. And then with 1.5 kilometers to go, there was a crash. I think Simon de Heers from Alpecin de Koning and Remy Rochat, together with Louis Askey of Groupama FDG,
His
were
wheel
involved.
just
Watson as well.
wheel just
Watson
went
as well.
underneath him.
Ulich ook as well.
All right, but in the end, there was a brilliant lead out, maybe even the best one we've seen this week by Danny van Poppel. We've started this review episode with Danny van Poppel. We will end it with him as well. It was followed by an easy win of Sam Welsford. The hat trick completed.
On a plate.
All right, guys. Is there anything you would like to mention about this Tour Down Under?
Go again, 2026. We'll be enjoying it, and you never know. We've seen stage 3 was a new addition kind of style to the Tour Down Under. So let's see what they can find next year. And hope it's another good race.
All right. Thank you guys for joining me today, and thanks to our audience for listening. If you like this episode, don't forget to subscribe, and I guess we will see you with previews or reviews about the next preparation races. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
I've got the spots, the sickness. There's the twins in my brain.